Hello there, you are watching Newsfirst in Focus. Well, women leadership and women's empowerment has been an oxymoron for years, for decades, so to speak. But things have changed now. The world has made progress in making women shine, to make them dream big. Well, today we've got the Vice President of Operations for Southeast Asia and India for Hilton Worldwide, Mr. Costley, with us, and he's here to speak about how important women leadership, women's empowerment is for all industries, not just the hospitality industry. And you have initiated many efforts in making women shine in the industry, especially in the hospitality industry, and making them dream big. Well, can you tell us what is the urgent need? This has become a huge need right now, that women should come into the job market and stay and retain.
Sure.
What sort of efforts have you taken, and what sort of an active role have you played to make this happen?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. It's really great to be back in Sri Lanka. And when you ask about women in leadership, well, obviously one of the key things is in society, normally half of a population is male and half is female. But once it goes into certain areas of society, business being one, there has been a disparity in terms of the representation of females in a leadership position. Now, as for our industry and hospitality grows, we find that obviously the traditional culture where men took a prevalent role in leadership, which was synonymous with society in general, that with the increase in so many hotels, that traditionally this male-dominated industry, we really need to ensure that the females are represented, because quite frankly, females, and I'm saying this as a man, normally are a little bit more intelligent sometimes, and they bring different facets of empathy and soft skills that are required in a business environment. But also as well that it's very, very important that we should have equal representation, not based on just man and woman, but it's about merit, who's best to do the job. And what we've found through three challenges that women have, not just in our industry, but in general. One is cultural barriers, where sometimes a specific culture makes it difficult for a female to have progression in a career. The second thing, obviously, is an unbiased consciousness for males and females, where a man says that woman can't do that job because she's not strong enough, or why invest in a woman because she's just going to get married and have children and then leave the industry and leave the job, so we've wasted money in these people. And similarly, that some females also have an unconscious bias, because they have been brought up with this cultural barriers that, oh, I can never dream, I would love to be it, but my parents wouldn't allow me to go and do a job in a male-dominated environment, for example. So that's another one, is the unconscious bias. And the last thing, which is unique to our industry, is the image of hospitality. And that's something where we must improve the image of hospitality, because there's a lot of misconceptions about what it is to be in hospitality and what potential career opportunities in hospitality. In terms of hospitality, is a great career choice. But secondly, for our internal team members, we've brought 60 of our Asian females to come over 2.5 days, where we've explained to them to maybe make them aware that they have unconscious bias. It's been a fantastic 2.5 days, and it's only the beginning, because we want to, this is a platform for the future.
So there is a huge need for human capital and skilled labor, especially in the developing nations, where there is a huge need for it. And right now, the industry is suffering because the women leave the industry once they get married.
Sure.
And skilled, talented women leave the job market. What sort of measures have you taken in order to tackle this issue?
Yeah. Well, first of all, as you quite rightly say, right, the hospitality industry is not just the unique industry that has challenges with retention of women in leadership. Many industries have the same challenge. Within Hilton, we very much focus on career progression and having bespoke individual career plans for everyone. The other great thing is a lot of people who join our industry at the entry level normally don't have a formal education, or they had only limited education. It could be that their parents couldn't afford for them to go to university, or there wasn't a good university for them to maybe get the job that they aspire to. So what we do in Hilton is first of all, we will hire talent for attitude, and then we train the skill. But also the soft skills, which is fundamental in our industry, about how to negotiate, how to communicate, how to present. These are very, very important job skills that, not just for hospitality, but it's something you don't normally learn. So this combination of formal education and getting the soft skills will equip them to have a great career within our company. Hospitality, again, going back to the image, it's amazing how it has grown and matured. Like, most people would not recognize maybe corporate responsibility as being a job choice in hospitality, where it's now fundamental, because we want to be good citizens in our communities, and we don't want to take, but we want to give back. If you look at, for example, revenue management, which is very sophisticated, if you look at e-commerce and online digital revenue generation, now these things people don't associate with hotels, but people, as much as they want to shop online, it's very similar for hospitality. So you need real specialists in these roles. So people just associate normally chef, receptionist, somebody as a waiter, and that's the image they have. But it's such an exciting industry to be in, and over the last 2.5 days we've gave some of the young students in Sri Lanka a chance to meet with all these specialists we have, with all the females in Southeast Asia. So it's very important for us to grow and develop these people. So a man would never have to think about having a child and being pregnant, and maybe depending on the pregnancy, being away from work a long time, and then maternity leave. We will help them plan, or they will start thinking about that for their career, so that we can think about making sure that when they decide to come back to work, we can support them pre and post pregnancy. So that's just an example of one thing that's unique, to a woman, that a man cannot. So we very much are encouraging a holistic approach to growing and developing our women leaders.
Well, with that, let's head into a short commercial break. But when we come back, we'll talk about the challenges that lie ahead in the hospitality industry. Welcome back. You are watching BizFirst in Focus, and we are in conversation with Mr. Costley, who is the Vice President of Operations for Southeast Asia and for Hilton Worldwide. Thank you very much for joining us. But before the break, I spoke about the challenges that lie ahead. And there's always challenges that you foresee. It's important that you see the future before you even make a decision. But there's also a problem when it comes to how decisions that was made in the top management level is reflected to the bottom. And it's always difficult for that to kind of trickle down and come down to the bottom of things. Okay,
well, our biggest challenge, which is a fantastic challenge to have, we're going to more than double our workforce. So at the moment we have 12,000 team members within Southeast Asia and India. So that workforce will more than double over the next 3 to 5 years. So that's a nice challenge to have in terms of the growth within Southeast Asia and India. And coupled with that is the talent and finding human capital. Because not only are we growing, but other hotel companies are also, and also local hotels. So this talent will be compressed in terms of the opportunities to bring them. So for us, that's something that really is first on the mind. It's a big challenge, and we spoke a little bit about talent retention. For us is important. and that's why we emphasize a huge amount of our effort on training and developing the team to retain them, but also that provides opportunities to go to other hotels in more senior positions. So that's the biggest challenge that we've got at the moment, is to manage this exciting growth. Obviously within that, the disproportion of females in leadership, if we just continue to do what we've always done, then when we open new properties, it will be then a challenge to bring to the forefront a more equal in terms of male to female leadership roles. And then if they do have to, maybe going back to, as we've talked about, cultural challenges, you know, even moving to another city can be a big thing for a parent to allow their child to go. At least they can bring it up now. So by that way we can really emphasize that the opportunities available, that maybe, again, going back to the unconscious bias, that maybe a woman think, well, they won't take me to go somewhere else. So that's been a big thing. What's even more important, that we grow the talent to be part of our new properties.
Well, you spoke about opportunities, but there's been a huge problem when it comes to opportunities, especially for women here in Sri Lanka, because they look for opportunities outside, especially women who go to the Middle East and they get treated really badly and they come back, but they go out looking for bigger prospects, for bigger opportunities, but they come empty-handed, most of them, majority of them at least. But what sort of an image are you all trying to create in order to attract women to the hospitality industry?
Well, I think sadly, because of the obviously in the past with the war that was going on, the employment was very tough, so predominantly the males took the jobs within Sri Lanka, and even a lot of them had to go abroad also to the Middle East. A lot of the hotels in the Middle East, obviously there's a lot of Sri Lankans who work in them, which is a great pipeline as the Sri Lankan hotels grow if people want to come back home, because most people would love to be with their families. And if you talk about females who obviously go to be domestic helpers, it's quite, you know, it's a shame, because there is always news of people being, you know, treated very badly. But what people don't understand in hospitality, so for example an entry-level female or male, with minimum salaries and with the pay structure in a hotel, actually you get paid just as much, if not more, in a hotel in Sri Lanka, in an international hotel. So if you think about that, you don't have to go abroad. You can be with your family. Even if it's outstation, you still have an opportunity to go home. You get paid the same. It's people like myself and other industry leaders to actually make people aware that this is an amazing industry. It's a great industry, and actually it's going to be contributing a lot more to the country's GDP in the years ahead, as tourism becomes one of the major industries within the country. And for that we need women. We can't just have men working, because there is a disproportionate percentage of men working in hotels than women.
But with that, let's head into a short commercial break, but when we come back we will have an extended conversation with Mr. Costley, the Vice President of Operations for Southeast Asia and Hilton Worldwide. Welcome back. You are watching BizFirst in Focus. I'm with Mr. Costley, who is the Vice President of Southeast Asia and India, and he's a Vice President for Operations for Hilton Worldwide. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, the gender pay gap has been one of those topics that everyone touches on, especially politicians who go on an election trail, a campaign. They say that they're going to curtail this issue, which means it is a big problem than we thought it is. But how have you helped people realize this is an important factor? Sure.
Well, obviously the most public domain where people talk about gender pay gap is probably Hollywood, where a male actor gets multiple millions more. And similarly, when it comes to CEOs of large organizations in the West, there is statistics that clearly define that there is a gender pay gap. It's more I think that when it gets to a more senior CEO executive level globally, that these are an issue. But within our organisation, we very much have salaries and benefits and packages for position, not based on if you're a male or a female. So in our company, you know, if you're a male or a female, you get paid the same. But it is an issue, for sure, absolutely.
The CSR projects that you all take up has taken a huge role in changing people's lives. It's not only just serving food on the plates of people, but also serving to make the existence of people better and to improve livelihoods. So why do you think CSR projects are important, especially when in a world that's so focused on progress, development and growth?
Sure. Well, CR, a lot of people potentially look at CR as, you know, you have to do it because you have to do it, rather than it being within a DNA of a company, and people do it because they think it's the right thing to do, and it becomes culture. It's not something that, you know, you're forced to do, that people naturally and genuinely want to, you know. Our company's program for CR is under a thing called Travel with Purpose. So basically, Travel with Purpose has aspects of corporate responsibility. It has aspects of being engaged in communities and providing opportunities as well. For Sri Lanka, as we mentioned, Room to Read, both of them play a huge role with this organisation to develop and create awareness of education of young females. They also do many other things. Through the Travel with Purpose, we give grants to specific hotels to do an initiative within a country. They have, for example, down south, helped to build a school and facilities within a school. And actually what was amazing was what the company provided, the team members themselves matched. So if we had provided $5,000, all the team members actually got together and actually doubled it so that they could do even more. And what our job is, number one, it is the right thing to do. You cannot grow and develop and you leave people behind. And being part of many initiatives as I travel around Asia, I find the biggest smiles and faces of our team members. I shouldn't really say that, should I? But more when they're doing a community-based program than at work, because they feel so proud that they're giving back to their own community. And as a human being, you always feel much better when you give than you receive. So it's now part of culture. People don't do it because they're told to, they do it because they want to. And I think every company must get their team members engaged to a stage that it's culture. You do it because you want to do it and you want to give back. So this is our platform to provide opportunities to our team. So all our team members all over Southeast Asia and India are giving back to their communities. And to be honest, we have to look after the world. It's very precious, and we have a big responsibility to play in that.
Well, with that, we've come to the end of the show. It was a pleasure having you with us, Mr.
Thank you very much for inviting me again. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, this is Biz First in Focus, and next week we'll have a new guest. We'll have more discussions as to how we can improve the community. Thank you very much for joining us. Join us next week.